Good day, freedom lovers of Australia. What is the suspended Dr. Bay up to today?
What indeed is the suspended Dr. Bay up to today? You might not care, but I'm about to tell you anyway in this slice of life conspiracist video that I have decided to do. And you know, why can't I let my hair down sometimes? I've already done lengthy, hours-long treatments on factions within the conspiracist movement. I have, dived deep many times before. I'm likely to do so again in the future. Sometimes a gal just wants to look at some slice of life stuff that these little tackers do to each other. Aren't I allowed? Aren't I allowed to just treat myself every now and then? That being said, I am not a reliable, consistent narrator of the goings-on in the anti-lockdown movement. I am a purveyor of regular videos, yes, on subjects all around the Australian political fringe, but since the election, I kind of only looked at the anti-lockdown movement intermittently, because as I know I've said on this channel before, that is when I reckon the anti-lockdown movement formally died in the arse. Though I'm not a reliable narrator, and that's why you might not immediately know about some of the figures in this video, I think we can check in every now and then for a little slice of cooker life. So what is the suspended Dr. Bay up to today?
What is the suspended Dr. Bay up to today?
Because I don't update you on these fuckheads all the time, some of you might not even know who the suspended Dr. Bay is. Look, in short, he's a recent darling of the anti-lockdown movement because he indulges their evergreen desire, discussed in this channel many times before, to have people in important uniforms tell them exactly what they want to hear. But the suspended Dr. Bay is a particularly wet dream for the anti-lockdown movement because he's got a doctor's uniform. He's a doctor. Well, he was a doctor.
A Strathpine GP who ambushed the country's most senior doctor and live-streamed a wild anti-vaccination rant is likely to be suspended immediately.
6 years' experience raging at a room of eminence, with the camera on his chest, rolling and streaming live.
Dr. Professor Paul Kelly is a liar. He is gaslighting all of you. There is only a 0.27% fatality rate with the infection.
I don't know if you know who Maria Z is. You don't have to. These people aren't important, She's a complete fantasist trying to cobble together a career in conspiracist media. She's the type who's willing to say any old shit she doesn't mean. She's professional enough about her cooker shit that she recently earned a spot on Alex Jones's InfoWars. But anyway, this registered doctor, formerly, said at the time that he learned about vaccine stuff from Maria Z videos. And I think that shows you, who you're dealing with.
When he said to me, he already had some concerns about the injections, but through my content, watching my interviews with the experts, he realized what the risks were with the injections. Now, that is unbelievable to me.
I remember back at the beginning of the anti-lockdown movement, we didn't realise back then, I didn't in my naivety, the degree to which a admittedly small splinter faction of real doctors and nurses would actually turn into complete kooks. But it has happened, and now we all know that they can, because the truth, as we've all come to learn, is that I guess emotive logic and the desire to be part of an in-group completely can trump everything, including all of your education. Let's call it what it really is anyway. It's a fucking breakdown. The suspended Dr. Bay's having an extended breakdown. People like this do. They have a breakdown. They ruin their career, and next minute they're wearing a Hawaiian lei and a red ensign cape. Anyway, can you imagine getting medical advice from this cunt? He's going to fucking prescribe you bleach for your cold, mate. Ivermectin for a skin rash. No, thank you. The suspended Dr. Bay doesn't want to be a doctor anymore. Okay, that's pretty clear. That's not his in-group anymore. Billy wants to be a figurehead in the anti-lockdown movement. He wants to do that, so now he's gone and done that. He's living his dream. And the particular faction of that movement that he's pandering to is very much the faction of coronavirus denialism and anti-vaccine sentiment.
What is the suspended Dr. Bay up to today? What is the suspended Dr. Bay up to today? I am on my way to protest a protest.
So there's a little squabble happening here, and that's what gets to the heart of this video's slice of life conflict. There's two factions involved in it. One, we already know, the suspended Dr. Bayes faction. The other faction is the Expose the 28 faction. You can learn more about that faction in videos I've previously done, such as my old pedophile fantasists one, or more recently in my video about the child abduction ring that sprung up around a little Antigua girl who was for a little while abducted, since returned. I draw your attention in particular, for the sake of this video, to a woman called Ruby West, part of the Queensland Expose the 28 lot.
2.5 million people in Brisbane. Either it's little old me, or it's little old Diane, or Viv, or just one or two of us. Why are we doing this alone?
She's not really significant. She's just another sort of Q grandma. You know what I mean? Gets them out, gets them having a walk, you know.
I've gone live again because there's a woman inside the grounds filming us. I'll see if I can look up on house.
And it's succeeded to a point. Who was hearing a case against a man.
I think she's currently on a phone call.
Who was found
prior to that,
of raping
specifically stood there to film us.
What does this faction get up to, though, generally? Well, look, they spend a lot of time outside governor offices. You know, obviously the Governor-General in Canberra, but in Ruby's case, also outside the Governor in Queensland's office, just like hoping that everyone else will show up there en masse and start making up pedophiles with them. Their other hobbies include, you know, making up new celebrity names to insert into this list of 28 rumoured made-up pedos, and occasionally calling me a pedophile when I disagree with them. Anyway, let's look at why suspended Dr. Bay is going down to protest. These pedo fantasists were hanging out at the governor's office last weekend, as they are wont to do, and this little moment happened in one of Ruby's interminable live streams.
Yep, I hear, David, I hear. But I'm just not going to say anything at the moment. People have to come to their own, well, not right here, not now anyway. But, yep, I hear you.
Uh-oh, controlled opposition. That's a big diss in Coca world. That is the numero uno diss right there. You don't want to be called that, mate. You're going to get called that eventually, but you don't want to be called that. And Dr. Bay, the suspended Dr. Bay, is not taking it well being called controlled opposition.
Unfortunately, however, Ruby as a leader there was suggested by several people, at least one person I know of, and I have been getting a lot of these complaints recently, that I am controlled opposition. And so when her supporter on a live stream on Saturday said that, you know, we need to call the suspended Dr. Bay out for being controlled opposition, she didn't defend me. She actually acknowledged what he was saying and said she understands, she hears him, and it's up for the people to decide about me. Well, I thought there's no better way for the people to decide about me whether I'm controlled opposition or not by going and having a chat with Ruby and seeing exactly what her concerns are, what her membership concerns are, because I would truly like to know why people think that I'm controlled opposition.
You see, it's one thing for old mate David Gray in these comments here to go, oh, he's controlled opposition, but she's out there trying to fucking edge David in her live, isn't she, a little bit, by going, oh, well, I can't say it in public. Do your research, mate. We know what you're saying. Obviously. You're fucking calling old mate controlled opposition, aren't you? Like, have the nerve to make the call, Ruby. Jesus. And I assume a fair degree of literacy on conspiracist terminology among my audience. I sort of do expect that, but for the sake of newbies or the uninformed, let's define controlled opposition. It does mean that you're an agent provocateur or an otherwise orchestrated or planned, you know, disruption or plant inserted into, say, a movement or an army, political activist group, something like that, by an outside controlling influence like the government. That isn't originally a conspiracist term. It's originally a real intelligence tactic. And hey, look, many activist groups really do have plants for intelligence or state purposes. I feel like I've spotted a Fed or two in left movements myself over time. So it's not that they're being completely irrational, don't get me wrong, this stuff happens, but it's the way that conspiracist groups are constantly visibly falling out, over this shit that's exceptional about them, because they simply cannot help it, you know? I mean, in fringe conspiracist world, you have no checks and balances against unwarranted paranoia, because think about it, it's unwarranted paranoia that fucking brought you all together in the first place, isn't it? Anyway, let's watch Dr. Bay versus the Expose the 28 lot.
Hello, how are you? Ruby, I'd like to invite you to have a peaceful, that's one polite chat with me regarding whether Dr. Bay, the suspended Dr. Bay, is controlled opposition or not. Would you like to do it in the iconic place in front of Gate B? I think that'd be pretty cool. The gates, the Gate B, the very dangerous Gate B. All right, let's get set up. I've obviously got my arguments prepared as to why I'm not controlled opposition. I'm just really interested to see what the arguments for me being controlled opposition are. Yeah, so we're just waiting for things to roll. Come on, Ruby! Don't keep the doctor waiting! We're still waiting, still looking. There's my accuser over there. Are we going ahead? Hello. Ruby, are we going ahead? Here we go, we've got some action coming over now. Yeah, I have a right to, I've got a freedom to broadcast.
Righto, so we've got this old bloke coming over because it turns out Ruby West is a fucking coward who won't get off her ass and go and deal with these controlled opposition fed plant fucking dogs, you know? So we get this old loser instead. But there's about to be a big twist in this situation, so hold on to your suppression orders, guys.
Is that what your problem
She doesn't want to talk live about the comments that were made live about me on Saturday.
Live? What time?
Sorry?
Where? What live?
It went live on Saturday. I've got the stream. I watched it myself. So,
what's the stream?
Yep. So what happened was that on Saturday when your team was protesting here, and I'm not against your protest, as you know. I've protested here twice before, and we are protesting here again on Wednesday, the 21st of September, on the protest on Saturday.
Said that you're a paid opposition.
She didn't say, no, you said that.
I said that.
Yeah, yeah, you said that now.
Holy shit! So it turns out this cunt, he's the controlled opposition accuser guy. He's not just the cowardly fucking Ruby who didn't take a stand either way but kind of let the accusation be aired out. He is the guy. The suspended Dr. Bay has uncovered the root of the accusation. Truly, the doctor is in.
I said you're a paid opposition. You may be.
Okay, all right, you have
I
a...
don't know
Okay,
you.
well,
I'm
have a chat, sir.
I'm not here to promote your show.
Well, you are promoting my show because you're talking to me now about it.
Okay.
So why do you think I'm a paid opposition?
Everyone's a paid opposition around here.
Okay. Well, how can that be true for me when I'm not getting paid at all?
Well, how do we know you're not?
Well, that is true.
There you go.
Okay, old mate has really struck at the root of the problem here in a way that I'm not sure he's cognizant of. Here's the problem. If you're accused of being a shill or paid or controlled opposition, you can't disprove it. It's literally impossible to disprove that. You can argue about it. What can you do? You can attest. You can say how great of a dude you are. You can get mates in to say how great of a dude you are. You can even return. This is the favourite thing. You can return the accusation to the other guy. Go, no, you are. But you literally cannot demonstrate in any way that you are not controlled opposition. You just have to get the other person to trust you. But you can see how that's a little bit of a tough ask for a paranoid conspiracist. Like saying, oh, just trust me. These aren't the kind of guys who are inclined to go, okay, I'm going to take a leap of faith on you here. They're not known for their trusting nature, you feel me?
There was a gentleman on the broadcast calling me controlled opposition. Was it you? Okay.
Was it me?
And you said, I hear you, I hear you, I hear you. And, you know, we'll let the people make up their own mind about that. It's not the right time to talk about it right now. So that concerns me.
I didn't say it.
She just said yeah to someone saying it.
How do you know that I was saying that I hear you regarding that? Was it a comment that you put on?
No.
It was a comment that...
it's comment.
It was a... That's right, yes.
And what did I say? I said I hear you.
Yeah, I hear you, yes, I hear you. And that's up for the people to make up their own minds about... and then you cut yourself and say we need to talk about that at a later stage.
Look at this weasel. This is absolute peak act of weaselism. She knows as she fucking said, mate.
Yep, I hear, David, I hear. But I'm just not going to say anything at the moment. People have to come to their own, well, not right here, not now anyway.
Look, if you don't think I'm controlled opposition, then that's fine. That's great. I can walk away now. I'm not here to provoke anything that's not true. It's just that many people have been saying that of late, and since that was coming from a person I respect, I needed to reach out to you and find out what the problem is. If you are worried about that, or you can just let me know.
I don't focus on controlled opposition.
Mm-hmm.
That's not actually in my vocabulary.
I am.
If I said I hear you, I was possibly referring to something else that he was saying. So I think this might be a misinterpretation.
Oi, Ruby, mate, Grandma, how are you going to uncover non-existent lists of fucking made-up pedos from some governor's office if you can't even look at one wide-eyed gronk in a Hawaiian lei, stare him in the face, and just have the guts to tell him he's controlled opposition, if that's what you really think? Just pack up and go home, Ruby. That's what I reckon. I mean, it's you know what? It's really easy to go and yell at a governor's office that won't yell back at you because it's a fucking gate that you're yelling at. But it's another to deal with actual humans that talk back, isn't it? Oh, we don't want that smoke, do we? Fuck, mate. Bloody middle-aged Q boomers having a second childhood by way of the anti-lockdown movement. What happened to seniors walking clubs?
So, Billy, what are your intentions about talking about the politicians' Freemason connections?
I don't have much intention to talk about that at this stage. If information comes my way that I think is important to talk about, perhaps I will talk about it.
Here we go. This is in conclusion, but Ruby's just basically let slip why these kinds of people would reckon that the suspended Dr. Bay is a plant. It's precisely because he doesn't talk about Freemasons all the time. The demand of the Expose the 28 lot is that you have to constantly, if you have a platform, talk about pedos and Masons. Otherwise, you're obviously protecting them. Do you remember back, and I've talked about this before, when old Pornhub hoodie, Graham Hood, threw a tantrum back during the convoy to Canberra because, understandably actually, because he just wanted to talk about getting jobs back and vaccine mandates, but he was getting threats from the pedo-fantasist wing specifically just for not talking about pedos enough.
I'm sick of being tugged at by people telling me to say this and telling me to say that. I have had my life threatened. I have had my life threatened.
Look, in my view, as soon as things aren't great for conspiracists, for example, when there's a decline in their numbers, or there's excessive police or state scrutiny, or, there's a fight for leadership, or hell, even if someone's just feeling a bit grumpy that day, the accusations of controlled opposition begin to fly. And they never get resolved, because like we said, they literally can't ever get resolved. It's impossible. And so these scenes are, by their very nature, destined to kind of crumble after a while under the weight of their own distrust and paranoia, which is, it's a fucking great tragedy, really, isn't it? But this video is not a tragedy. It's a slice of life video. It's just a little slice of cooker life, which I wanted to do. I wanted to take some time out for me and just talk about little slice of life cooker issues. If the warning is for you. The takeaway here is that if you're part of these movements, prepare to eventually get called controlled opposition by controlled opposition. You can't prove it, and neither can they. Thanks, guys. Patreon.com/Tom Tanuki. Appreciate your support.